G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life, and for your listening pleasure, today we have another 5-cylinder Audi on the channel. This particular shape came out in 2007, and in 2009 they launched the TT RS. At the time it was only available with a 6-speed manual transmission because all of the dual clutches they had available at the time couldn't handle the 465 Newton meters that this engine put out. And then later on in 2010 they developed a 7-speed dual clutch that could handle the power and increase the performance with the Plus variant, which is what this one is. Along with that, it also saw improvements to the exterior styling. It's got carbon mirrors, 19-inch wheels, a massive spoiler around the back, big twin exhausts, and lots of RS badging throughout. The engine is a 2.5-litre turbocharged inline-5, and with this one being a TT RS Plus, it has a little bit more power than the standard one. This little 2.5-litre engine is pumping out 265 kilowatt and 465 Newton meters of torque. To put all of that power down, it uses Audi's Quattro 4-wheel drive system going through a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. The wheels are 19 inches and have 225mm wide tyres in the front and 255mm wide tyres in the back. The interior is a lovely place to sit. Surprisingly, in this one, they don't have any kind of electronic adjustment, but once you get them into a decent driving position, they hold you in good, but they're still reasonably squishy and comfortable on a long journey. And the steering wheel falls very easily to hand. The pedals feel great, and it has some big 10 and 2 chunky grips up here to help lock your thumbs into the steering wheel. The gauges on this, I reckon, is one of the coolest features of it, with the TT RS logo and the white crisp backlit display. The only thing that does let it down a bit is the infotainment screen here, with it being the best part of 11 or 12 years old, and with no touch capabilities it's a little bit cumbersome to get around, but it'll do the basics like your radio and Bluetooth. And the transmission lever looks and feels absolutely fantastic with the little RS Plus logo there on the top. You can tell it is an older interior, and this is one of the very last of them that they've improved slowly over time. The dashboard itself is kind of made out of a 2000s looking material, but they've done a few things to improve it over time, like adding the black headliner, the new sport leather seats with TT RS embossed in it, the new steering wheel, the updated gauges, and so on. So even though it's an older interior, they've done a few bits and bobs to improve it, and it makes for a great place to sit overall. Driving the Audi TT RS. Wow, this thing is no slouch, eh? 265 kilowatt from a 2.5. That's more power than my E46 M3. And that 5-cylinder sound, man, it is a fantastic noise. It's so good to be back in a car with a 5-cylinder engine. What a noise. And it's interesting too, when you listen to that 5-cylinder in sort of the mid-range, there's like all these weird undertones and like different frequencies that you can hear. It's just such an interesting sounding engine. I love it. Steering feel is nice because at the lower speed it lightens up, but then as you increase the speed it gets heavier. I'm not usually a fan of 4-wheel drive cars because they almost make a car so safe that then it doesn't become quite as fun, but it is impressive to just be able to put your foot down out of a corner and know that the car is just going to sort you out. There is a surprising amount of turbo lag, which I guess is expected given the amount of power it's making for the displacement, but certainly if you're not above like 3000 RPM it doesn't do anything. Like 2000 RPM foot down, nothing. But in many ways I kind of like the fact that it's not just a typical all mid-range turbo engine where the power comes in at the higher revs, so it encourages you to want to wind it out and listen to the glorious 5-cylinder engine. I've always maintained that dual clutches are a little bit boring because they're kind of almost so perfect that there's no fun element to them. It's just like a video game just flicking away on pedals, but this one actually has quite a bit of gear shock when you shift. Like when you shift it, bang, like it really hammers it into the next gear. which I actually quite like. You can tell that this is a more aggressively tuned dual clutch than, say, one you'd find in just like a Mark 6 GTI. And it's a nice amount of power too, where you can utilize the power that it has available without getting yourself in too much trouble. The ride is definitely a little bit on the firm side, but the car makes up for it with nice, comfortable, soft seats, and the engine is just a masterpiece, I've got to say. On a really twisty, windy road like this, you could argue it maybe has a little bit too much power, to the point where it is hard to wind it out because it's just so quick to go through the gears. But if you had it on a slightly more suitable road that wasn't quite as windy as this, you'd be able to fully wind this thing out through multiple gears, and man, it would just be a masterpiece, eh? It's perfectly usable every day. The build quality is excellent, and sure, they aren't the cheapest cars around, you know, most of them are 25 grand plus, but if you want something that can do everything and have a noise like no other car, but also just be an extremely proficient and very fun car to drive on a back road or on a track, this car can do it all. And it'll do it with one of the best noises in motoring. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.